Hey guys, welcome back to Set the Standard. I'm your host Genelle and
Dad.
today we have a really exciting topic, something that I think a lot of us, almost all of us can relate to if you're listening. We've been one of the three things that we're going to talk about. Today, we're going to be sharing and talking about, are you really lonely or can you just not be alone? The good and the bad that comes out of being alone by yourself and having alone time. So we're going to get started. We're going to jump right in. And the first thing we're going to cover is, can you not stand being alone? Codependency? Do you need to constantly be around someone? Have a relationship? Be in the presence of your family members?
What's been your experience? What would you?
Yeah.
You just asked a lot of questions there. So
Yeah.
how would you share with people?
So just to give a little small backstory, and my dad already knows this, but I, grew up in a household with two younger brothers, and then either my dad or my mom, most of my life. My teen years got a little messy. There was a divorce that had happened, and then custody was split 50-50 between my parents. But I still always had my parents, and I still had my brother. My brothers and I we were going everywhere together up until maybe the age of 16. I decided to fully live with my dad, but I pretty much just had my dad. And even if he was gone for 12, 14 hours, he was working, doing his thing, whatever, I still expected him to come home. So I always had that. And then when I graduated high school, I moved into a condo with some step siblings of mine. So I had that. And when I was 15 years old, I got into a relationship. So not only did I have my brothers always there for me, my parents, one of my parents, and then I had a relationship. So I had three major key pieces in life to rely on for my own happiness and fulfillment. And what's the magic word today? Codependency. So, I had that. And then when I was 23, I moved out to Los Angeles, but I moved out with my boyfriend. So I never was alone until I was 27 years old. I became single for the first time in my life. And not only was I single, I was in a state living in an apartment by myself. So with that being said, in 2020, we all could feel this way, and this is opening a whole other box of worms. But it was the first time I truly felt lonely. I felt like I couldn't be alone. I felt codependent. I couldn't focus unless I was around other human beings. And not to say that this is a bad thing, but we're kind of going to break down maybe noticing when it's an issue. Maybe you're driving people away in your life because you're so codependent on certain people, or you're putting it on certain people. So how I'm going to just say that it's okay to be codependent. My dad said something really key yesterday when we were talking about this topic. He goes, codependency is actually, what did you say? It's a good thing. Relying on a partner or, a sibling or a parent is good because it brings you to
The right person. Seriously.
So that's good. That's
yeah.
good.
So because codependency has a negative connotation to it, we're not suggesting that. We're saying that, even within a relationship, being alone can happen. Okay. Maybe you're married to someone, they travel for a week at a time,
right,
or whatever. So again, that codependency can actually be a good thing the majority of the time that you're with that individual, as an example. But then, even then, are some people okay being alone when their partner is not around?
Totally. So what I experienced is I never had that really. And then when I was completely alone, the relationship was gone, I had best friends. And I think what had happened at certain toxic moments, because I was going through so much grieving and upset, and it was just a shock to my ego. It was so many things. I think then I was in this apartment by myself and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be at a friend's house tonight. I just can't sleep alone in my apartment. It was all these things. And I couldn't figure out why. Why couldn't I just be okay. Now, granted, I was heartbroken, so I probably was trying to mask the pain, but I was like, why couldn't I be alone? This is like really sad. And I think at one point my friends were like, Genelle, you're not coming over tonight. I need to sleep in my bed alone. Or they were, honestly, at the time, they were so supportive. But I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, I am codependent on what was my relationship. And now, because I don't have that, I'm like fiending for my friend's attention.
Fiending?
Fiending for it.
What does fiending mean?
Fiending means to just, do you guys know what that word is?
They're all
obsessive craving, usually to drugs or alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you learn something new today?
I did. You know what? I'm start using that.
So I was fiending for their attention. It was like a drug. Honestly, I literally, there are days I would either stare at the white wall because I just couldn't. I don't know what it was. It was this lonely codependency. So
what'd you do?
Time.
How can you help our audience?
Yep. So what I did with that is, I will say, time helped, because normally when we're codependent and we're having that really anxious attachment style of a vibe, I just said a lot of words there, but you get what I'm saying. It's normally a not healthy situation that you are in. It's a trauma you need to heal. I was going through heartbreak. I was trying to fill a void. My codependency was, I was codependent and I hadn't realized it on a partner. And when it was taken away from me so fast, it was like a part of me was ripped in half. And then I was like, I need to fill this half. Instead of, okay.
At times, did you think you did what I would consider, in order to not be alone, you hung out with the wrong people or did the wrong things?
Hung out with the wrong people? No, because I had had those girls in my life for a long time. But did I resort to more fun party times? Absolutely.
To sort of hide or cover.
I just wanted to have fun. And I think...
Well, yeah, but were you seeking it so you didn't have to think about being alone?
Right. Yes. And then, you're out till 5 a.m.
Right. That's not necessarily a bad thing until...
Yeah, I was just missing sleep. I was getting acne. I was gaining weight. I wasn't, my job, it fell behind slightly, but it wasn't, I could have done a lot more damage. But I think a key piece that I want you guys to remember, and a couple things that I would do if you're feeling this way, if you're feeling, maybe you even recognize you're trying to fill a void or codependency. It took me a while to look in the mirror and say that to myself. I didn't just right off the bat be like, wow, I'm codependent and I'm filling a void. I had to kind of snap into it. So if maybe you're kind of pacing around, you can't stay focused, you need to be around friends, you need to have plans every single night, or Wednesday through Sunday, you're going out on the town and you're finding that it is affecting your life. Now, if you can do that and it's not affecting your mental health, it's not affecting your productivity, your body, the things that you want, great. But if it is affecting you, how it did affect me, you need, the first step is to realize what you are trying to fulfill and what is the pain that is causing you to want to cover it up. Because at the end of the day, when you are doing stuff that is destructive to your life and your goals, you are trying to cover something up.
Face it.
So
it's kind of, in a sense, is that you're sitting here talking, I just thought of something. Being alone is like a fear almost.
People do fear it.
Yes.
They do.
As you're thinking that. So who wants fear? Nobody. So what do we do if we're fearful or think we might be fearful? We do everything to avoid that.
You're right.
So being alone can also mean being fearful.
Yeah.
In its own way. Right?
Totally. And here's my thing. I never feared being alone, because I will say, in my relation, like, I had my family. I knew.
Even though we were miles away,
I knew I could call you, knew you'd be there for me. My friends at the time, I thought would always be there, right? We're not friends anymore, but I didn't ever fear losing any of these people. And even my relationship, I was like, oh, this is never going to end. We're in it together forever. Yes, we have our ups and downs and it's hard. But I didn't fear ever being alone. So when being alone hit me, and then I realized it was so hard for me to sit alone. And when I say sit alone, it was like for 2 days. I could do a day, But after 48 hours, I'm like, whose house can I come to? Who can come hang out with me? Who can cuddle me? Who wants to drink tea with me? I couldn't, I still almost can't. I can't watch TV and movies by myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I couldn't, I can't find the joys in doing it alone.
Come on. You watch some shows by yourself.
No.
You watch the Kardashians by yourself.
No. I have to turn it on with you. And
No,
Sabrina.
I haven't watched any of it with you.
No, I know. I haven't caught up on the rest of the episodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sabrina thinks I'm crazy.
All right, so you're going through this phase. You're seeking your friends out.
So
for
how I
comfort.
got out of it.
Yeah.
How I got out of it was I did mask it at first with negativity. So if you're doing
And how much time has gone by now? Would you say a month, a year, longer?
that I realized
Yeah.
it was like 7 months
Okay. 7 months.
of partying and being a little
yeah,
wild.
and just basically finding ways to bury it, right?
Yes.
To cover it over. Right. Okay.
And then it hit me when I started feeling the negative effects on my body and my health. So that's when I was like, oh man. And then I would stop going out and I would stop hitting up my friend as much because my friends would get annoyed at me. And I was like, okay, let me just take like 4 days for myself. Then I'd be like, wow, I can't focus. I can't work. And if I do, I'm doing 8 tasks at once because I need to constantly keep switching my mind to something else. I had to constantly keep moving my mind to something different every 20 minutes because if I started to have these lonely thoughts or thoughts of my heartbreak or anything, it would overcome me and take over me. And then I couldn't do then I become paralyzed for the day. So I was like, okay, I'm going to wash dishes for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to move to laundry. Then I'm going to work on this YouTube video. Then I'm going to try to work out. But then as soon as and then what was happening, I wasn't getting anything done. So how I overcame it is I looked myself in the mirror. I realized the pain and the things I was trying to heal. And I started just seeking self-help stuff. I was listening to stuff on YouTube. I'm a big YouTube girl. I am on YouTube 24/7. I am always watching YouTube videos. I really started writing down my dreams. I think when I started to make my first vision board in 2021, and then I wrote down my dreams and my goals, and I could visualize my dreams and read them and write them, I had realized everything I was doing was not going towards those things. So I was like, all right, get it into gear. Yeah, you're lonely, but get it together.
Well, lonely or alone?
Well, I was both. I was...
Okay. But you can be alone and be okay with that, so you're not necessarily lonely.
Right, but
You
I was
follow?
both. I was both.
Okay.
I was completely alone.
But what you're saying is, so I'm trying to follow you. So you're saying I went ahead and focused on my goals, and that helped me not be lonely.
Right. Because I knew...
Okay.
I knew then at times when I wasn't feeling lonely, I'd be like, okay, let's see what I've accomplished.
So do you say staying busy is a way to not feel lonely?
I would say.
Okay.
But what I was finding is when I had moments where I wasn't feeling lonely, I wasn't happy with things I was accomplishing. So then I was finding I was disappointed in myself. So not only was I dealing with this heartbreak and this loneliness and codependency, at times when that would be freed of that for a hot moment, I'd be like, I'm not proud of anything that I am right now. So I was then disappointed and insecure. So I had this weight of 2 horrible things. And that's what I think the negative side of loneliness can get you, because you're covering it up. And then the second you do feel good, you look in the mirror and you're like, what do I have to show for my dreams, my goals, my success, and things I want to do with my life? People I want to help. Let's say you don't even have big dreams, but you want to help people. You want to start a family. So start hobbies, things you love. Fill your time. I think staying busy, I know this sounds cliche and everybody says it. Just stay busy, because especially if you're trying to heal yourself and only time, a lot of the times time can only heal certain things.
But I think what you're jumping to is, if you're lonely and stay busy, have you really dealt with being okay to be alone?
So with that question, when I started to stay busy and focus on the positive things in my life, even though I was lonely, the times where my loneliness would be...
You were alone.
Yeah.
Staying busy, and you were still lonely.
Yes, but I'm answering your question.
Okay, but I don't know if you're getting there.
So what I'm saying is, at moments where I would feel not lonely, right? Because I wasn't lonely 100% of it was 90%. So that 10% I would get a window where I'm like, oh, I actually feel okay today. My busyness of focusing on my goals started to make me feel more positive. It was a positive reinforcement for all the time I was focusing on my goals. If you're filling your time, with drugs and alcohol and partying, you're going to feel like crap about yourself for the times you do start to feel better, because time does heal all. Time heals all, in my opinion, when it comes to trauma and hurt. It does. You do have to do some self-work on some of the stuff depending on the severity of your trauma or your pain or your heartbreak or whatever. But time does heal. So as time was going on, for a day, I'd feel 90% lonely, 10% okay. 8 months went by. I'd feel 80% lonely, 20% okay. When I started focusing my energy to stay busy during that 80% of loneliness, and my brain would free up and feel happy for 20%, I'd be like, I feel good today. And all that busyness I did 80% of yesterday is showing up today. And now I can appreciate in my moment of not feeling lonely for a hot second, all the work that I did.
So what you're saying then, if someone's out there right
Fill
now
your time
listening,
with positive.
Okay, so if I'm
things to
feeling
push yourself
lonely
forward.
or
Yep.
alone,
Yep.
could I just read a book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then,
Clean my house?
let's say at the end of the night, you're like,
What you're
"Oh,
saying is don't lay around on the couch
don't party.
sulking and just
Nope.
dwelling on
And if you
being
do,
lonely.
take a day or take a week, Now, if you're 2 months in and you're sulking on the couch, get up. You know what I mean? Get up. You have to start doing things. Start working out. I then, too, I started really getting in. I've always been into health and fitness, but I really started getting into health and fitness. And then I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, wow, I'm actually looking really strong. So then it was positive reinforcing myself to continue to do positive things during my time of healing and pain. So that leads into how you become okay with being alone and you no longer feel lonely. Granted, we'll have moments, if you live alone, you don't have a partner and maybe not many friends, you keep your circle pretty small like I do. Yeah, you feel lonely. It's so funny. I look back at 2020 self of mine and how I prayed to feel exactly how I feel today. And I get lonely. I do. You kind of can't avoid it, right? I feel so many emotions all the time. I'm also an artist and I like to act, so I'm constantly thinking about I feel like I'm constantly playing different characters all the time in my life, always. But consistently I am myself, and I would say I am alone a lot. But am I lonely a lot? No. I do get lonely and I do get sad and I get my feels and I'll put on some music or I'll journal or da-da-da. But I found myself okay with finally being alone. And that also made me realize I'd start to look around at people close to me or acquaintances, and they were like, all right, what's up for tonight? What's up for tomorrow? Are we doing lunch? Can we go here? I'm like, whoa, you haven't been, and you just got back from a 6-week Europe trip. Are you good? Like, can you take a breather? So what I used to be okay with being alone is recognizing my loneliness, what was causing it, and how I could move forward and make time pass, because I think I did a lot of internal work that then just depended on time going by. So I started to fill my time with new things to do. I got into ballet. I do Pilates.
So again, activities, staying busy. I'm a project guy, as you know. I do projects.
You do.
And sometimes, whether it's an hour project or a multi-day project, when I do a project, I lose myself in that project, right? Because I have to think about what I need, how I'm going to go about it, blah, 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 blah. And so, this could be anything, fixing something, repairing, painting, whatever it is. So what I was going to say about the process you went through when you started, after you found yourself feeling more alone, to hang out with friends, doing things maybe counterproductive to your overall well-being, I learned early that, as an example, if I would go out on a Friday night, this is when you're working 5 days a week, 6 days a week, you're working your butt off, and you go out and you end up not having a very good time for a variety of reasons. Not so much because you drank too much or any of that. Just you're around the wrong people. And
Wow, I've been there.
And there's drama.
You felt that way before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I had that recently.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and I remember telling myself, going, and I think self-talk is a good thing, by the way. We'll talk about that another time. But I said, man, if I would have stayed home, and even if I would have just hung out, relaxed, watched TV, read a book, worked on a project, versus going out and having whatever happened happen and feeling the next day not so good, I'd rather just be by myself. I remember thinking that, it's like, and, I had some friends that, my circle's pretty small. I don't have, compared to when you're, high school in your early 20s where you have 100 friends. I've always been one to just have a few good friends. At least I feel that way. And I want to be a good friend to others as well. And so I really started weighing that out. I said, if the people that I'm going to go out and associate with aren't people that I want to go out and associate with, then I'll just stay home.
Now, were you ever in a time period where going out and maybe having a C- type of a night was better than being alone by yourself?
No, it's funny. The effort sometimes, and this happens too as you get older, the effort to go out sometimes is not worth it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes. I mean, not that I have to get really ready.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just throw on a shirt and you go.
Comb my hair.
Yeah.
But seriously, I would find myself going, it's so much cooler just to be like doing what I want kind of thing, not having to do what someone else wants me to do. Maybe that's part of it too, that I like to do what I want to do. Not that I'm hard to get along with or anything, but, I'd rather do what I want to do. So I just wanted to add that in, that if you're feeling you get to this point in your life where you're alone, or you're watching this and you're thinking, hey, I'm alone, there's so many things that I agree you have to do something. Laying around on a couch isn't going to be it. Take up a hobby,
work out.
Yeah, work.
Go on a walk.
Ride. Like I like riding a bike.
I like a walk.
A walk is a great thing. Listen to a podcast.
Yes.
Hey, listen to a podcast.
Music.
Subscribe now.
Yeah.
But seriously, and I remember talking to Genelle during some of that time. So, self-help is, and filling your mind with things that make you a better person is a great way to sort of counter the loneliness. I mean, there's so much great information out there. So I'd go for a walk and listen to podcasts, and just, I don't care, even if it was a person who, I listened to this one podcast once, and this woman was a lawyer in New York, and she got sick of it, and she decided to take on deep dive spearfishing, free dive, something like that. But she was a fascinating person, and she taught me a lot about what she had to do to be successful at it, and so on and so forth. So my point is, so we can move along, is that it's okay to weigh out your options. Once you go through that lonely period, you learn a lot about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is how you get to being okay with being alone.
That's right. And when you learn about yourself, then you say, because I always felt like I was missing out on something. Like if I didn't go out.
Right.
Oh, I'm missing out. I'm going to miss out on the big party.
Yeah.
And Susie's going to be there. And Billy's I got to be there, And,
or what if I run into?
But it's funny how you tell yourself like it's the only night in the world, or if you don't, you're going to miss out somehow.
Yeah.
And
normally
I understand,
you never really do.
Exactly. Or it's a failure, right? It doesn't turn out to be as.
Or it's whatever.
So again, then I would look forward as we move on to being alone, so I could do what I wanted to do. So that became precious time for me, like really precious time. Now, again, your job may be such that you're alone a lot. I was always in jobs that I had lots of people, and I was busy.
You were.
So in all fairness to everybody out there that works out of their homes now and the hybrid work and all that, that has changed this quite a bit. I was always on the road, on the go, so forth. So I almost begged to be alone, where I could just listen to some music or a podcast or do a project or whatever.
What a pleasure it is now to be alone. And like my dad just said, he would actively seek to be alone because his job required so much of him to not be alone. So for me, it's completely different. Like I've expressed, my job is me being alone, talking to myself, being with myself, writing songs for myself, singing by myself, working out by myself, right? Like it's by myself. Now, granted, I do go to ballet class and there's people there, but it is still very individual. So I find that since I've filled my time with my hobbies and my work and making sure I'm checking in on, I really just, with my loneliness, I took the time to then check on the people that really mattered when I hadn't really done that in my selfish era when I was filling it with partying. So I'm a better friend now. You know, the positives that came out of being lonely are being a better friend, knowing myself better so I can be the best partner for somebody one day.
But what you just said, don't you find kind of what I was saying, that if you start getting busy and your busyness is being around people you really don't care to be around, you know in the back of your mind you don't have to put up with that because you'll be okay being back by alone.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like it gives you a power. There's a power in knowing that you're going to be okay being alone.
Right, but I'm just saying the positives of loneliness. So
Right. Well, that's a positive.
Oh, okay.
I suppose.
Yeah. So the positive things I would say out of my loneliness is being a better friend, learning more about myself, really taking pride into self-love. I love to do a nice nighttime skincare routine. That's like my favorite thing ever. You know, doing things that make you feel better. So then with what you just said,
I like doing a nighttime skincare routine as well. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, you do the Theragun. Sometimes you'll roll your leg.
20 minutes, just some
stretch.
Put mud on my face.
Yeah, stretching. Yeah. So then with what my dad just said, what?
Nothing.
Oh.
I was just pointing to the camera.
With what my dad just said, there is power then in learning how to be lonely, filling your time with positive things over the loneliness. And then when you are alone, you enjoy it because you have so much fun with yourself. What I have learned in being lonely is I had to figure out how to be okay with just me. I think sometimes people can't even stand their own selves, because just think about it. If you were your best friend, you loved hanging out with you thought you're the funniest, you love to read, you're smart, you're strong, so working out just think if you were all those things, it makes being you and being with yourself so much more fun. Okay? So I found that when I started becoming a better singer, a better YouTuber, I had time and space for my creativity. I became better at styling myself in fashion pieces and doing makeup and being a better friend. I was like, wow, being alone is so fun because I am so fun. Look how fun I am. I listen, my little apartment, I have days most of the time I'm having so much fun. I figured out more music I liked. So the positive things I got out of being lonely was learning to just love myself more. And listen, my self-love will always be a work in progress. There are days, and I'm not trying to make it sound like I don't have any self-doubt or anything like that. I am insecure at times. I do have self-doubt. I do go, wow, maybe I'm not good enough. This person didn't call me back, whatever. But the positive things I got out of being lonely was having fun being alone. And then when I do go out and I have a night, I'm okay to leave the party early because I'm like, you know what, my bed and my time and reading a book before I lay down, or my skincare and getting in my favorite pajamas. This is so much more fun for me. It's just so much more fun and fulfilling. Do you know how many nights I went out and like most of the time I was just like, ugh.
And then you eat something crappy really
at
late.
like 3 a.m. Taco Bell.
And you wake up and then you waste a day. But that's another podcast.
Yeah. And I just feel better. So You know, if you're going through something and you're like, gosh, I feel so lonely, but I love myself, maybe just keep working on things that you do love, because you can be strong, you can love yourself and still feel lonely. Feeling lonely, don't get this episode twisted, it is a valid feeling to feel. We are humans with emotions that go through stuff that make us feel broken and hurt by, people that hurt us, and then we have to deal with being alone without them. But if you find fulfillment and fullness within yourself, most of the time you're going to just have a great time, and you're going to love being alone. You're going to love getting in your bed with your favorite pajamas, your face mask on, and I use a vocal steamer, so I steam my face every night. I open a book. I put on a Disney movie. Oh my gosh, I'm going to smile cheek to cheek thinking about it, because that's so fun for me.
Well, and for you, that's right. And
so find what's fun for you.
I think maybe to kind of summarize and put a bow on all this, having a routine helps a lot. And you were kind of hitting on that, having this routine at night, these things that you're doing, which you look forward to, that you've discovered as self-love, loving yourself. And that's another discussion for a podcast, because we were talking about self-love and loving yourself. But I think it's important to have that sense about yourself. It's not an ego thing. It's not it may sound strange to somebody, but loving yourself is so important, taking care of yourself. And so I think when you get into these moments where something's happened potentially that makes you feel alone, creating a routine as soon as you can, like if you're this person that gets up in the morning. That's a good one. Yeah. Wash your face, put on your workout gear, and get a workout in.
Yep.
Or listen to your favorite podcast, or pray,
stretch,
or read the Bible, or maybe you get up and immediately, the night before, write down everything you want to accomplish the next day. Everything, write it all down, and then go out and do it. Those things help that too.
Yeah,
the sense of accomplishment, I think, oftentimes helps with being alone.
100%.
I know oftentimes when I finish something, complete something, a task, if you will, I always feel good about that. So I think it's good that you shared this, because I think people who've never really thought about it, or the other, we didn't hit on, and that is social media. So people take that alone time, and then they dive into social media, and they go deep into this potential black hole of garbage.
I've done that.
That's right. To fulfill, and that to me has become counterproductive for people who are feeling alone at times. Again, using your phone for, a podcast or something like that, but just going into, looking at people on Facebook and all these different things.
Comparison.
Yeah, and especially in this weak moment that you're potentially in from being alone. So I would encourage you to sort of move away from that stuff and find, as Genelle said, some other types of goals or things that you can do to stimulate your mind in a positive way. Positive fulfillment, positive, busyness versus negative. And I think that's what we were weighing out, was positive things, loving yourself, helping yourself, learning some new activity, I know pickleball is real big right now. A lot of people are getting into pickleball, right? So go out and find a lot of these local areas. They have pickleball clubs now. I mean, there's so much you can do versus, hey, going out to the bar every night, or going out doing those things that are going to be unhealthy in the long run. So
I know pickleball will go perfectly into, we're going to do an episode about health hacks, and pickleball's a good one to talk about in that one. And cold plunging, right? I was also feeling a lot of...
Don't keep telling them
Well, I was also filling a lot of my time with the sauna and stuff like that. So we're going to get into all that.
Well, let's wrap this.
But yeah, so that's basically that. If you guys have any questions maybe about how I dealt with my loneliness, and heartbreak, I think trauma comes with being alone. And I think also trauma also can make you not love yourself. So then you feel lonely being alone. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I hope you guys really liked it. I tried my best to pull the weight and give you guys a little something to take away from this. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like this
And
video.
thumbs up too, right?
Thumbs up, like the video, and
Thumbs
we'll
up.
see you guys.
Peace out.
Bye.
See ya.